Good Friday morning, and it's the 29th. I made a mistake, yes, and said that it was Wednesday. Yesterday was Thursday, okay? Leave it to me. Oh, anyway, Dean knows what he's doing. He'll straighten all this stuff out. Anyway, today's the 29th, and there's a great text in Luke, okay? I'll read it to you. When the days were completed for their purification, according to the law of Moses, the parents of Jesus took him up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord, just as it is written in the law of the Lord. Every male that opens the womb shall be consecrated to the Lord, and to offer the sacrifice of a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, in accordance with the dictate in the law of the Lord. Now there was a man in Jerusalem, his name was Simeon. This man was righteous and devout, awaiting the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was upon him. It had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he should not see death before he had seen the Christ of the Lord. He came in the Spirit into the temple, and when the parents brought in the child Jesus to perform the custom of the law in regard to him, he took him into his arms and blessed God, saying, Lord, now let your servant go in peace. Your word has been fulfilled. My own eyes have seen the salvation which you prepared in the sight of every people, a light to reveal you to the nations, and the glory of your people Israel. The child's father and mother were amazed at what was said about him. And Simeon blessed them and said to Mary, his mother, Behold, this child is destined for the fall and rise of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be contradicted. And you yourself a sword will pierce, so that the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed. That's powerful, isn't it? You see, immediately, Simeon predicts the passion of Christ. That's the genius of the Gospels, Luke and John and all the rest. They never lose sight that the incarnation embraces the passion and death of Christ. It's not an afterthought. The whole thing is summarized in the death and resurrection of Christ, the Easter mystery. See, Christmas is the foretaste of the Easter mystery. You get it right here. Your own soul. You yourself, and you yourself a sword shall pierce. See? And that's a great image, of course, we have in the gospel where Christ is speared, okay, on the cross, and blood flows from his side, and Mary is standing there. You see? And John. See? It's interesting that Luke tells this story, probably the best of all, telling the story of the incarnation. The Christmas mystery is best told by Luke. He's the best of the writers. But you don't get him far from the cross. And he's a disciple of St. Paul. He understood the centrality of the cross in the story of Christian redemption, Christ's redemption. Yeah. I know I seem to be beating this thing to death, and I'm sorry. Well, the good news is there's no collection today. Whatever. I don't know, I'm reflecting a lot on it, that's all. I got a cold. You can hear me struggling with it a little bit. I hope it's not annoying for you. I got a coughing spree going just a few minutes ago. Anyway, it's the holidays, and now in anticipation of it and in celebrating it, it's such a time. It's a time of family and friends. It's a time of laughter and joy, but also remembrance. And for me, it's mostly remembrance. It really is. It's not just my immediate family, but my friend's Junie. She's dead 13 years now. Yeah. And Bill's been dead 7. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Junie was my companion in many ways in life. We walked this thing together with her and her husband and her family. They was much a family to me, and they still are, as if they were my own. In fact, one of my classmates, John O'Brien, God rest him, said to me one day, he said to me, Ted, they're not your friends, they're your family. I think he was right. I think it was John who said it. Anyway, see, and that's hard for me not to think of that. I'll be with the kids, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But you always have the empty table. You always have the plate that isn't filled. And you remember, even in the laughter, as the young kids are just having a great time. There is, excuse me, there is that remembrance too. What used to be and who used to be at the table. It's hard not to think of it. In fact, why wouldn't you want to think of it? Since for many of us, Christmas becomes more religious as we get older because it contains within the hope of life. As we see life ebbing away, it's the hope of life's refreshment, now in eternity as opposed to time. I mean that. I hope I'm not beating all that together, beating this together, but I can't help it. This is what I see. But it's also what the church sees. She's the one that gives us the text. She's the one that tells us, look, up here, how does he say it? A sign will be, behold, this child be destined for the rise and fall of many in Israel. A sign to be contradicted. And you yourself a sword will pierce. Yeah. He's just telling you, it's the reminder that even in the joy of Christmas, there is the cross. And for so many of us, it is so real. So many that sat at our table and are gone. Our family, our relatives. In some senses, our friends, my June. But also when I think back of my father's friends, Pete and Demi, that always came by for Christmas Day for a few hours. And my Uncle Joe would come in for just Christmas. The one time a year, he'd come in from New York. My mother's uncle. And Uncle Joe always brought us something special. We were little kids. There wouldn't be Christmas without Uncle Joe. And he'd stay with us for a few days. See? That's the table of the Lord. That is the table of the Lord. That's Christmas. So special in that regard. But for many of us, it's also a time in which we feel the loss. When I go downstairs, I told you that a million times, there's the pictures of Pete and Debbie, Terry and Barry, my friends, they're gone. Terry and Barry are much younger than me. Pete and Debbie would have been 25 years older than me. See, it's a sweep of life. There's Bill Ritchie, my favorite guide up in Ontario, you see. Now gone for many, many years. But I remember with gratitude and hope, the gratitude that the Christmas and the Easter mystery will be fulfilled and we'll be together again, that death is not final, that the joy of love and life will be celebrated forevermore in a Christmas dinner that is never ending. With Uncle Harry singing. He had to be there for that. And, see Pete and Demi come to the table for a few hours, having their drinks and eat the hors d'oeuvres and share the stories of fishing and hunting. That's who they were, you see. I remember with grief and hope. Grief and hope. I grieved their loss. I missed them painfully. I miss June painfully, but not without hope that pain will go away in a communion of love forevermore, where we will sit together at the table of life, Christ at the head of the table, and the rest of us forevermore, eating and drinking together, perhaps with my Uncle Harry singing. He better be there. You had to be there. He will be there. You had to be there then. You will be with him. You'll see. Time to come. In the eternity of time to come, we'll sing together at the table. Now, forever and evermore.